Hey guys, it's Group 11, and for today's vlog, I'm your host Felix, and we'll be talking about Data Privacy Act of 2012. Now you're all probably wondering, what is Data Privacy Act of 2012? It is a law that seeks to protect the information of all individuals within the government and private sector. That's it. In addition, the state policy seeks to further protect the right of privacy and communication and the free flow of information in order to promote innovation and growth. Now take it away, Says.
Hi everyone, this is Cesar Anbatat from Group 11, and for today we're going to talk about how important is the Data Privacy Act of 2012 in relation to the application of informatics in the nursing practice. First of all, privacy of personal information is a closely guarded individual right, such as that any unauthorized access or breach is considered a violation of this entitlement from both legal and moral perspectives. However, a person entering a health provider-patient relationship as the recipient of care is observed to willingly and automatically shed that veil of protection and allow a health worker who may be a complete stranger to have access to the most intimate details, the very private thoughts, and the core of his being, and on the premises that this disclosure of relevant, though sensitive, personal information by the patient will help the health professional arrive at a logical nursing care plan or management plan. In view of the use of health information technology such as EMRs or the electronic medical records or any computerized systems for storing patient information, the duty of hospitals or any other health provider institution to maintain and keep medical records confidential entails a greater responsibility. The health information privacy here in the Philippines has evolved in parallel with advances in technology, but the underlying principle remains the same. It is the healthcare workers must ensure the protection at all times of their patients' privacy. It must be stressed that the quest for privacy is but one critical component in improving the quality of care available to any Filipinos here in the Philippines.
Next, let's talk about breaching privacy and confidentiality. So what do we mean by this? A breach occurs when there has been unauthorized acquisition, access, use, or disclosing patient's private information with a third party without his consent.
Hi guys, I'm Maria. So for today, I will be telling you about a scenario where there could be an anticipated breach in the nursing field. During this pandemic, everyone has fears and worries with regards to the increasing cases of COVID-19. A scenario that could happen here is that when healthcare workers would disseminate or would reveal the personal information of positive patients to their family or friends. And so, there might be possibilities that the personal information of the patient might spread and the family would be affected in a way that they would be discriminated by other people just because they knew that their relative has COVID-19. With these instances, confidentiality of the patient is very important so as to avoid discrimination. That is why the Department of Health make use of pseudonym to those patients who are positive of COVID-19. So that's it for my content. In the next video would be Janella, who would further tell more scenarios about the breach in the nursing field. So bye guys!
So another example where there could be a breach of privacy and confidentiality is, let's say for example, you are inside your patient's room and the relatives and significant others present, and one of the relatives would say, I am a doctor and I would like to see his chart. However, as a nurse, you know you're not supposed to give that chart to the relative even though he says he is a doctor, because you are only supposed to disclose information of that patient to those healthcare providers who are directly involved in his care. And aside from that breach of privacy and confidentiality, you know that as nurses, you are not supposed to bring the patient's chart anywhere aside from the nurse's station and when you are going to do rounds with the doctor. This is because when you bring the chart inside the patient's room, the patient could read it and he could misinterpret these medical terms as something threatening to his health or condition. So, the next question will be answered by Therese.
For the third question, do you know about security measures in the nursing environments you were exposed to that aim to protect patient information privacy? How are they implemented based on your observations? My answer is yes. I know some of the security measures in the nursing environment that I got exposed into that provided and protected patient information privacy. For example, in every hospital that I got a chance to have a duty rotation, the Nursing Services Management furnishes a memorandum about the Data Privacy Act and the guidelines to follow regarding that law, which some are no taking of photos on patients' information and charts, or anything that can disclose the patient's privacy. Also, they let the people in the hospital know about the law by posting a signage about to not take pictures inside the hospital's premises and even taking the photos of healthcare providers without their consent. Here's Miss Joyce Manuel to provide her different insights about the question.
So I'm here to add my own observations about security measures. Usually, nurses handling chart and other medical forms written or computerized are those involved in the client only. They also make it a point that all information shared will be disclosed to the authorized healthcare provider or person, namely the attending physician and the nurses who are in charge to the patient. In my own observation in our clinical duty, actual patient chart is not allowed or authorized to be brought in the patient room or and other areas in the hospital except in the nurse station. So the next question will be answered by Felix Uzi.
When utilizing informatics in relation to protecting patients' privacy, one of the pros is restricted access, meaning those healthcare individuals directly involved in the care of the patient are the only ones allowed to see the patient's records. Another pro of utilizing informatics in relation to patients' information is the safe transfer of data. What I mean by this, for example, let's say we have a patient that is in the first floor and needs to be transferred to the 8th floor. Now, you need to obviously transfer the patient's documents, but then you possibly run the risk of losing some documents, possibly exposing the patient's information to the public. But in an electronic system, you mitigate all that risk. In an electronic system, the patient's information is easily accessible to any computer among those who have the access to that information. The patient's transfer of data is protected as all it needs is to be transferred from one computer to the other. Last but not least, one pro of utilizing informatics in relation to patients' information is it provides a safe communication route among healthcare individuals. What I mean by this is, for example, you have healthcare professionals talking about a patient within the nurse's station. You run the risk of other patients possibly overhearing about the other patient's condition. Now, in an electronic system, it provides a direct communication between two healthcare professionals or a group, and you don't run the risk of anybody overhearing the patient's information, therefore protecting the patient's information.
Hi, this is Shannon and I will be discussing about the disadvantages of informatics in relation to protecting patients' information. So first, we all know that network hackers aren't impossible to occur, especially nowadays that the technology is evolving. And so people are currently adapting to it. Hackers may do anything and find ways to get patients' information even if it's illegal. Second, technical malfunctions may occur. For example, a nurse is currently documenting patient's information and then suddenly the system broke down. Now, the tendency is the nurse will be having difficulty retrieving the patient's information, and he or she has to make backup paper records to prevent adverse effect on the patient's health. And this may cause patient care errors and delays. Another disadvantage is that it requires time to adapt fast in this technology. Many times there will be new softwares, new upgrades, and new way of dealing with things. So the healthcare providers should keep up with this. And this will be a struggle, especially to those older staffs, because they are used to the old way. And since healthcare systems are facing a lot of challenges today, we have to accept the fact that these technologies are expensive and not all healthcare systems could afford it. So they have to prioritize their needs. So that is it for the disadvantage, and I hope you have learned a lot.
Hi guys, I'm Sophia, so I will be the one who will answer for the last question. Here it is. Do you think patient confidentiality is observed in accordance to Data Privacy Act of 2012 here in the Philippine healthcare system? For us, yes, because according to Section 2 of Data Privacy Act, which is the Declaration of Policy, it is the policy of the state to protect the fundamental human right of privacy of communication while ensuring free flow of information to promote innovation and growth. The state recognizes the vital role of information and communication technology in nation building, and its inherent obligation to ensure the personal information in information and communication system in the government and in the private sector are secured and protected. So, any information that you get from your patient must stay confidential. And if you are the person who processes the information of the patient, you must protect it and secure it. Also, according to Section 8 of the Data Privacy Act, which is the confidentiality, the Commission should ensure at all times the confidentiality of any personal information that comes to its knowledge and possession. So, the nurse and the other healthcare provider and the hospital has the responsibility to protect and secure the personal information of the patient regardless of the patient race, ethnic origin, status level, etc. So you can only share the personal information or the diagnosis of the patient unless that the person you will share with is part of the healthcare team. So that's all guys. I hope you learned something from this video, and thank you for watching. Stay hydrated, stay safe, bye!